Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel. In today's session, we will be diving into 15 crucial shell scripting interview questions that you can expect as part of your DevOps roles. Now, whether you're preparing for an interview or you're just looking to polish your scripting skills, then this video is for you. Now, before I start off with this session, all the scripts or commands that I will be using for this session, I have them in my GitHub repo. I will be sharing a link to this GitHub repo in the description section. So if you want, you can refer this. You wanna try, you can try it out. So let's get started with this. The first question I have is, how do you declare a variable in a shell script? So we know that variable can be used whenever you have any data that you want to reuse. So to declare your variable in shell scripting, all we have to do is assign a name to that variable, and then without spaces we can give the value to that by using this equals symbol. So your variable name, which is user defined, equals to the value that you want to store to that variable. For example, let's say channel is equals to dgr uploads. All right, so this will create a variable with the name channel, and the value for that would be dgr uploads. And then you can call this variable, you can print this variable, which will basically display the value of that particular variable. For example, let's say I'll create a script over here. So let's go with this bin bash. So your variable name equals to the value that you want to store in this variable. All right, so that's your variable name and the respective value. And then we can print this. So echo is equivalent to your print and then the variable name. So when we execute this script, it will simply print the value of this particular variable, which will be dgr uploads. All right. The next question we have is, how do you make a shell script executable? So now we have this shell script. We have written this shell script over here. How do we make it executable? So to make any script executable, we can make use of the chmod command, and then we can define the permissions for the script file making it executable. So in this case, we'll be using chmod plus x. So x here stands for executable. So I'm telling that I want to add the executable permission to this file. So now let's say I want to make this executable. So we'll use the chmod plus x and then the file name, and this will go ahead and make the script executable. So if you look at the permissions over here, earlier we had read write only. Now with the command, with the chmod command, now that we have given it the execute permission, you can see here XX, and also the green color basically indicates the script is executable. That's how we can make your script executable. And once you make the script executable, if you want to execute that script, we'll simply have to run this dot slash. So dot indicates in the current directory, and then the script name which will execute that particular script for us. So in this case, I'll just run this command which will execute the script. All right, so if you look at the script, we have declared the variable and then we are calling the variable. So it is simply displaying the value of that particular variable for us. The next question we have is, how do you pass arguments to a shell script? So arguments can be passed to your shell script by using $1, $2, and then so on, depending on the number of arguments that you want to pass. So $1 will be a first argument, $2 will be a second argument, and then so on, depending on the number of arguments that you have specified. So you'll be declaring this within your script. All right. So $1 indicates your first argument, $2 indicates your second argument. So let's go to this script. Let me comment this out, and let's say we will say echo first argument, and we'll say $1, right? That should be inside the quotes, and then echo second argument, and then $2. So this is your serial number. So always 1 indicates your first argument, 2 indicates a second argument, and then so on. Now when we are executing this script, now before we execute this script, $0 holds the script name. By default, $0 will always hold the name of your script. Like in, let's say for example, you have you're calling a script as myscript.sh. So this is how you'll be passing the arguments, your script that you want to execute, and then your argument. So this will be $1, this will be $2, and then so on, based on the number of arguments that you have defined within your script. So in our case, I can say channel, and then my second argument. So when I execute this arguments, these values will be passed to the script, and it will execute it accordingly. Okay, so that's basically how we can pass the arguments to your script. The next question we have is, how do you check if a file exists in a shell script, which is very commonly used. So for this, we can make use of the if statement in your script, and then we can make use of the -e option to check whether a file is existing or not, and then based on the condition we can print certain statements. Like in this case, if the condition is true, we are telling to print file exists. If it is not true, we are telling file does not exist. So this script will output file exists if the file is present, whatever the path that you are going to give, and if the file does not exist, then it will simply print that the file does not exist. So here, for example, you can use this code if you want. So essentially, whatever the path you have, you can give the path, and it will check that path, and if the file is available in that path, it will display this particular output. If not, it will display this particular output. The next question we have is, how do you write a loop that iterates over a list of items? So again, looping is something that is very commonly used in your scripting. So for this, we can make use of your for loop to iterate over a list of items. So here, this will be the iterating value, and then the elements on which you want to do the iteration. All right. So I'm telling for each of these item, print each item one after the other. So essentially, when I execute this, it will print file 1, then file 2, then file 3, based on the number of elements that you have in your script. So this loop will print each of these item that we have within the list. The next question we have is, how can you redirect both stdout and stderr to a file? So for this, we make use of the ampersand greater than symbol to redirect the standard output and standard error to a file. So when we talk about your redirection, we have standard input, we have standard output, and then we have the standard error. Now we can use this ampersand greater than symbol to capture both your output as well as your error, and then write it to your file. So let's say, for example, you'll run this command ls/non-existent. By default, if the file exists, so let's say here I will run this, so non-existence. So I'm getting this error, all right, saying the file is not available. Likewise, if there's a file which is available, all right, it will simply display that. So this becomes my error, and this becomes my output. Now I want to capture whether it's an error or it's an output. I want to capture it to a file. So that's where, when I'm running this command, I can use this ampersand greater than symbol, and then the file name where you want to capture the error or the output. So when I run this command, it will not display the output or the error, rather it will write it to this particular file. Likewise, when I run this particular command, so this time you will see that it is not displaying the error on the command line, because it is now it has written that inside the file. So that's where we can make use of the redirection to basically capture your output as well as the error within a file. The next question we have is, how do you schedule a cron job to run a script every day at midnight? So for this, in Linux, we have something known as a cron tab file, which can be used to schedule a script based on the schedule, whatever the schedule that you want to run. So let's say the requirement is to run the script every day midnight. So this is what we will have to add to the cron tab. So for this, we can use this cron tab -e command, and then just add this particular line. So what this will do is, this line will schedule the script, whatever we have defined here, to run every day at midnight. All right. So the first 0 represents minute, the second 0 represents hour, the third one represents your month, fourth one represents, sorry, the third one represents the day of the month, fourth represents the month, and the fifth one represents the day of the week. And this is the path where the script is available. So what you have to do is you just have to run this cron tab -e, and then you just have to add the schedule, like let's say 0 0 star star star, and then the path, like let's say if the script is available in this path, we just need to give that, and the script will now be scheduled. So every day at midnight this script will get executed automatically. Okay, so that's how we can schedule it. The next question we have is, how do you find and replace text in a file using a shell script? So for this, we can make use of the sed command, sed command, or a stream editor, which can be used to find and replace text inside your file. So this will be your syntax: sed -i, and then the old text and the new text. G will be your global, like replace everywhere, and then the name of the file where you wanna replace the text. So for example, this will be the command. So let's say in your test file you have 1, and you want to replace that with 10, and everywhere in the file you can run this command. So this command will replace all the occurrences of your old text with the new text in your file that you have specified. Now the -i option here edits the file in place. So here, so let's say we will create a file, and let's say we have 1 2 3, let's say 1 4 5, and then let's say 1 6 7, just for the sake of example. Now let's say I want to replace 1 with 10, just for the sake of example. So we'll use the sed command -i. So s, your old text, the new text, global, which is to replace everywhere, and then the name of the file. So this will go ahead and edit the file and replace the old text with the new text. You can see 10 10 10. So we can make use of your sed, your stream editor, to find and replace text in your files. The next question we have is, how do you read user input in a shell script? So for this, we can make use of the read command to capture any inputs from the user when they're executing this script. For example, here we are first printing the statement, enter your name, and then we will capture whatever the user will input and will store that inside this variable, and then we can display that variable, or you can use it within the script if you want. So this script will prompt the user to enter their name and then greet them with this hello and whatever the name they have entered. So for example, here let's say we'll go to the script. Let me comment this out. So we'll say echo, and we'll say enter your name, and then we'll say read name, and then we will display that. So hello $name. All right. So now when I execute this, so this will prompt me, and now it is waiting for the input. So let's say we will give the input, and when I hit enter, it will basically take that input and display the name for us. That's basically how we can prompt the user for input, and then we can read it and use it within the script. The next question we have is, how do you check the exit status of a command in a script? So for this, we have a special variable, which is your $, and we can use this to get the exit status of the last command that was executed. So let's say you're executing a command, and you want to basically check whether this command was executed successfully or not based on the return code. All right, so we can use this special variable here, $. So in this case, we are executing this command, and we are checking the return code for the exit status of this particular command. So I'm telling, if the return code of this is equal to 0, then that means the command was executed successfully. If not, the command failed. So anything other than 0, we are telling the command has failed. So this command will execute the command and then also check the exit status of that particular command, whether it was successful or not. So basically a 0 exit status indicates that the command was successfully executed. Anything other than 0 indicates that the command did not execute successfully. The next question we have is, how do you create a function in a shell script? So function is a very commonly used method in any programming language, the same we have in your shell scripting. So we can define a function in your shell scripting and then we can call it. So in this case, we are defining our function, we give it a name and then open close parenthesis. And then in the curly braces, what do you want to execute as part of this function? All right. And then how do we call this function? We basically just give the name of the function which we'll call it. All right. So this script defines a function with the name, which in this case is simply printing a message for us. And then the function is called executing that particular code. So whenever we call this function, it will simply execute that piece of code for us. So let's say, for example, here, let me comment this. So we can say my function, and let's say go, this is executed inside a function, and then we'll close this. So we have created our function over here, and now we will be calling that a particular function. So now when I execute this, whatever I have inside the function, that will get executed. Okay, so unless you don't call the function, this will not get executed. Right, so this is how we call that function, and it will simply execute whatever we have inside the function. The next question we have is, how do you append text to a file in a shell script? So for this, we can make use of the double greater than operator to append any text to a file. By default, when you are using, so we have two operators. One we have is your single greater than symbol, and then we have two greater than symbol. Now, let's say, for example, okay, so let's say we have this particular file output.log. So if I say echo, this is test, and if I use a single greater than symbol and the file name, what this will do is this will overwrite the content. Whatever the old data is there, that will get deleted and it will overwrite with the new data. But what if I want to append to this? So that's where we make use of your double greater than operator. So what this will do is this will overwrite, or this will append the data to your existing data. This will not delete your old data, rather it will add to the end of the file. So we can make use of your double greater than symbol. So this command appends new text to the end of the file without overwriting or without deleting the existing data inside that particular file. The next question we have is, how do you get the current date and time in a shell script? So for this, we have a date command, a built-in command that we can use to get the current date and time of the system, and we can use this within the script. So let's say we will go to the script here, and we can say current date equals to, we'll use the date command, which is your built-in command, and then we can display the value over here. So when I execute this, it will display the current date and time of the system for us. All right, so this script will basically store the date and time in this variable, and then we are printing the value of that variable, which will display it in your console. The next question we have is, how do you handle errors in a shell script? So to handle your errors in shell script, we can make use of your set-e to exit the script whenever there is an error, and then we can make use of the trap to catch those errors. So we can make use of this set command. Whenever there is an error, we are telling you to exit, and then we are using this trap command to capture that particular error and display it. So this script will exit immediately if there are any command that returns a non-zero status, and the trap command will help us to capture errors and then print a message with the line number where the error occurred. So set-e, we are telling that, hey, if any command or the script is returning a non-zero status, exit immediately, and then the trap is to capture the error, where the error is happening and what is the error. The next question we have is, how do you parse a CSV file in a shell script? So now let's say we have a CSV file and we want to read the data of that CSV file. So we can make use of this ifs command, or the method within your shell script to set the delimiter and then read the data in that file line by line. So in this case, we are using comma as a delimiter because it's a CSV file. So comma will be the most commonly used delimiter. So what we are doing here is we are reading based on the number of columns. So we are assuming that we have only 3 columns. So we're reading column 1, column 2, column 3, and then we are assigning those columns to kind of, we are kind of creating a table, and then we are displaying it, and then we are giving this as our input. All right. So this will be our input file. We'll be reading the data based on the comma as our delimiter, and then we will be displaying that as column 1, column 2, column 3, and then so on. So this script will read each line of your CSV file, split it into columns using the comma delimiter, and then print each column's value. So let's say, for example, here we will create a dummy CSV file. And okay, so let's say I already have one. So 1, 2, 3, and you can see here comma is my delimiter. So we will be creating a script, or I can use the script. It's already there in my GitHub repo. So here is what we're going to use. So we'll add that. I'll save this, and when I execute this, what happens is it will read my columns. So you can see column 1, 1, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, column 2, 2, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, column 3, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So it is basically reading the CSV file and then displaying it based on the columns that we have defined. So that's basically how we can parse your CSV file. And that brings us to the end of our 15 essential shell scripting questions and answers for your DevOps interviews. I hope you found this video helpful and that it boosts your confidence for your next interview. If you have any questions or any topics that you would like me to cover in the future videos, please let me know in the comments section below. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to the channel for more valuable content. Thank you for watching, and I will see you in the next video.